Hey guys, welcome back to more of the BBTAG 2.0.2 tier list. Let's get right back into things and talk about Vatista. Now, I thought she was going to be a bit better now that she got her crystals back from Eunice. What ended up actually happening is she got a bit worse. Because now the crystals take the place of her old 214C and J214C for that matter. Problem is, she lost out on one of her best options, period, in EX Bouncing Orb, which is such a big deal. Some minor adjustments to just her A auto combo route in general. But that aside, one of the other things that Vatista kind of lost going into that is just generally being able to kill in some instances where normally, as of now, she'll never be able to because of the health buffs, which I think screwed her over big time. Especially Vatista, given she is one of, if not as of now, the lowest damaging character in the entire game, and the health buffs just kind of screwed her over severely there. But as a whole, I feel like the main reason why Vatista got worse outside of that is just losing out on EX Bouncing Orb. Yes, her 214A, I believe at least the J version, well, I know for a fact at least the J version, I'm not sure about the regular one or not, does mitigate that by effectively bouncing now, so it does kind of give her a Bouncing Orb to work with. It's just, yeah, the EX one was a 3-hit and much slower, so she could actually cover her own approach and cover her opponent as well safely. Now she can't entirely do that because it's a little bit faster and it's only a single hit. So that is a bit of a problem, but what can you really do? Honestly though, I think Vatista is always going to be really good. She's just one of those characters where her kit is just too well-rounded to really be bad per se. It's just that she ended up being a good deal worse on point in the long run. And in terms of just giving back, in terms of like EX Bouncing Orb and all that stuff, just losing out on that was a big deal. And the crystals really don't do much for her, unfortunately. Speaking of which, however, let's move on to S, a character who got much better this patch. I will never miss 1.1/1.3 S, but this S, just keep it as is. She is completely fine this time around. JB being a universal instant overhead, but in turn only cancelable into things on hit, that's honestly a good trade. I'll take what I can get with that. And especially the faster 5B now, so she can link freaking air hit 2B into 5B, and then just keep things going from there in some circumstances, which is really nice. But yeah, that said, S got some interesting stuff to play around with this patch as a whole. Worth noting that if you are very good and you burn the meter, she can actually combo out of JB solo without counter hit. The problem is, I think it's corner only, and either way, it's incredibly tight. So yeah, good luck landing that consistently. So it really ain't worth mentioning too much, because it's not really all that practical, but it is there. As a whole, S is just a super solid character now. Point options are really damn good. Her assists are still great, even though not nearly as broken as they were previously. I'll never miss that old 6P. That was cancer. But yeah, that aside, S is in a really good spot now. So that said, let's move on to a character who I still think is really good despite some pretty major nerfs. Merkava. Basically, he now has to be more aggressive, because his lower jump height means he can't really camp out as well as he used to. For those wondering, his old glide loops are still there, but you will have to high jump cancel after the 2C, which makes it a little bit trickier, but it isn't that bad once you get used to it. That said, however, Merkava as a whole is still a really strong character. It's just that because he can't zone out nearly as effectively as he used to, he is a lot easier to catch out of the air, which I think is a pretty crucial issue for him now. And he'll always be good just because his kit is just way too strong in general to be considered bad. He's one of those characters in that regard where unless you intentionally gut him outright, he'll always be good. And moving on, we've got Seth, who did get the 16k health buff, and also got a fast fall in the air now. So basically he has a new option to play around with there as well. But I feel like he kind of fell off a bit this patch. Not entirely so, but he did fall off slightly. I know Japan considers Seth a top 5 character. I personally don't see it. The main thing I'll say about Seth It's quite simple as to why he fell off. More characters just got more shit to be able to deal with him more consistently. And I feel like that was the biggest thing with Seth in the previous patch. Not a lot of characters could deal with him. Now more of them actually can, so that actually kind of screwed him over a little bit. Not too much though, he'll still be amazing, and if there is a good Seth running around that can actually show some really dumb things with Fast Fall, please let me know, because that's going to be sick. Seth as a whole this patch is going to actually be kind of fun to watch now, rather than how boring he was previously, just due to the fact that a lot of his stuff was just really difficult to deal with for most characters. The only real issue I have with Seth is that his 214 series still side switches on block, at least the A and B versions. But nonetheless, moving on, we're going to wrap up the high mid tier with Aigis. Yes, indeed, her fingers are guns and her eyes are sights, but that's beside the point. Aigis this patch is pretty interesting. She lost out on her A 7th gen Blast Gatling, I think it was, which is basically her 236A. She lost out on that, which weakens her solo neutral, especially in terms of the zoning game. But what she got in return was an A version of Megiddo Fire Kai, which originally was just an EX move. Now she actually has a more consistent ender that leads into Orgia safe jumps. She's a lot more Orgia reliant now, but at the very least, she gets so damn much out of it, it's ridiculous. She did get some limitations on a few of her things, which does kind of suck. Notably the fact that she can only use one of her 214B and 214A respectively in the air, so she's kind of locked to just one Vulcan each in that regard. But that said, the new Orgia safe jump shit is insane. Especially considering that she now has a Megiddo Fire Kai ender, worth a damn. And speaking of which, the EX1 now ground bounces, so she can follow up so much easier now. Basically, there isn't really much to say with Aigis. She's gonna be amazing, but the main thing again that is gonna prevent her from seeing play is the fact that she actually takes effort. If there ends up being a really good Aigis, that is gonna be hype as hell. That wraps up the high mid tier. Let's move into the high tier and talk about Hakumen. Now, despite the buffs, I think Hakumen dropped for one major reason. A lot of his game really hasn't changed, and he also lost out on his best partner due to the nerfs, that being Merkava. He still has Akihiko, which is really fucking good. In fact, I'd argue that's still a tier 1 team. The main thing is with Hakumen, though, a lot of his game hasn't changed much, and more characters just got more shit to deal with him now. Plus, the health buffs kinda indirectly hit him a little bit, because now he can't quite kill most characters as fast as he used to. Even though it's not gonna matter too much, but still. Basically, Hakumen's still gonna be really good in my opinion. It's just, we have better characters running around now. One of which is one of the new characters, Akatsuki, or as a lot of people like to say, Chesto! I'm sorry, I had to fucking do it. But speaking of which, Akatsuki. This character is pretty wild. He's a very basic, very effective character, but he does have a little bit of dirt to him. He's an honest character that's also very effective, primarily because Bitatsu is -4 on block, don't ask me why, and it's also an overhead on the third kick, meaning, you guessed it, active switch Bitatsu can set up unblockables. And that's really the only major dirt he's got. 5P is insanely good, 6P is just simple and straight to the point, 4P I would argue knocks a bit too high, primarily just because following up after it is a bit awkward. But that's really about it as far as his assists go. His actual combo game does a lot of freaking damage. The only real issue is that his 5B anti-air has less head and ball frames than it really should. Because seriously, frame 7 to 9 on a 10 frame startup move. Why? But that's really it. Akatsuki's just simple, he's effective, and he's just all around a really solid character. This is how you balance a character out. This is a solid, honest character done right in this game. Well, honest for the most part. The Bitatsu unblockable setups are still dirty as hell, but that's about as dirty as he gets. Other than that, he's still just really good in general. There isn't really much to say about Akatsuki that people haven't already said, including the infamous Chesto meme, but nonetheless. That said, we'll continue the high tier in the next video. Till then, later guys.